Well, hello and welcome to this Hiring Our Heroes webinar, focused on how to equip companies with the knowledge and tools needed to build a veteran-ready workplace in the trucking industry. My name is Adam Rock, retired colonel, and I'm a Senior Director of External Engagements here at Hiring Our Heroes. I want to thank our partners today, though. First of all, TransForce, a longtime partner, and Troops Into Transportation for making today possible to discuss this very important topic. I'd also like to thank FASTPORT and Hirschbach for their ongoing support of Hiring Our Heroes over the years. I appreciate it very much. I'd like to introduce our first presenters. Nikki Yazzie is the Director of Veteran Recruitment at Hirschbach, and Gene Nelson is the Sales Director of Driver Careers at TransForce. Nikki and Gene, I'm going to turn it over to you for this great presentation. Take it away.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us today, Nikki. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, yes, thanks everyone for having me today. My name is Nikki Yazzie. I'm an Air Force veteran. I have been in transportation for the last several years, pretty much since my transition out of active duty Air Force. And I started off at Swift Transportation. I ran their veteran program there, and now I'm at Hirschbach, and I'm excited to be here with all of you today.
Great, thank you so much. Two-part question for you. What advice do you have for carriers looking to start a veteran hiring program / strategy? And then also, how can carriers like Hirschbach better support a veteran hiring strategy?
Yeah, I think those are great questions that when any carrier is looking to strengthen that part of their talent acquisition program, if they're looking at veterans as a huge pool of opportunity to come in and enhance their program, what does that look like for their company? So they need to weigh the pros and cons of starting a program, and hopefully they find a lot more pros for why they should establish a program. Once they decide, yes, let's go ahead and move forward with establishing our program, they need to discuss what that goal looks like for their company. What does their fleet size look like? What are their objectives? What are they trying to obtain maybe for the next 12 months? Maybe even it's a longer range plan, like a 3 to 5 year plan, and what they want that to look like and how they want veteran talent to enhance those opportunities for them. Once they've determined that they want that program and what that goal needs to look like, they need to then share that program with all of their internal stakeholders so that everybody is on board with what they're trying to accomplish with that goal, so they get buy-in from everybody in their enterprise. And then from there, they needed to look at, do they want an external program? Do they want an internal program? And how will that best benefit where they currently are in their line of business?
Got it, okay. So if carriers are looking for someone to run a military veteran hiring program, what should they be looking for?
So I would say, especially for a smaller carrier, maybe they don't have as big of a footprint, but they know that there is so much value in creating a veteran hiring program, and they really want to look at how do they develop that? How do they execute what that looks like? If they start looking at external opportunities, I've been very pleased on the employer side about working with Troops Into Transport, Hiring Our Heroes, and FASTPORT. Those are 3 agencies I've seen a lot of proven success with over the years. So those would be like your external opportunities for who you could partner with. I've worked with all 3 of them, and I've always been very pleased with the results that we've gotten out of there from, again, multiple carriers now. So you want to work with someone who understands our industry. So drivers, we know what it's like because we are working that day in and day out. You want to make sure the partner you're working with understands our industry as well. They want to have a proven track record of success so you can ask them those questions. And you want to make sure that they are vetted and that they hold themselves accountable. So just like you would interview an employee before you bring them aboard, it's okay to essentially interview your potential partners that you want to work with and kind of ask them those tough questions to make sure that they're best representing what it is that you need.
Got it, okay. And what makes Hirschbach's veteran hiring program successful or unique?
So with Hirschbach, I think a lot of it goes back to just the fact that we are a veteran-owned company. We have a lot of internal buy-in from all of our stakeholders across the board. And what that looks like is when you have everybody excited about veteran employment, veteran programs, veteran initiatives, I think that's something that kind of transcends across our enterprise to make it very valuable to everybody, because it's not just going to be at the recruiting level. Eventually you have to work with your driver managers, you have to work with your sales team, you have to work with your planners, and you want everybody working together to make sure that we are best supporting our veterans the best way we can.
Got it. Thanks, Nikki. Very insightful. And I know that you have worked with some of these programs in the past. Any advice for maybe some of the smaller carriers?
Yes, I would definitely say for smaller carriers, it's really important if you decide to hire someone internally to fulfill that role for you, you really want to make sure that they're like the watchdog for your organization and that they're going to be protecting your interest. At the end of the day, you know, they have a responsibility to you to make the best decision they can for who you should partner with. And then once they're doing that for you, you want to make sure that they are working really closely with those partners like Troops into Transport, Hiring Our Heroes, FASTPORT. It's really important that they build strong bonds with those partners, because you know it's creating a net across our industry to help us all work together better. But there's also programs that you can do internally if they're not already doing it. For example, if you have veteran decals for your trucks, so you know drivers get really excited, we hand those out at orientation. We recognize their service before they even come aboard. They're allowed to put that veteran, Army, Marine Corps, whatever it may be on their truck, so they get that representation. You know, consider doing maybe a wrapped fleet if you can, even if it's just one truck a year. Maybe you bring that out on Veterans Day, whatever may work for you. You can make Veterans Day a big deal for your drivers, your shop, as well as your employees who are in the office who may be veterans themselves. Participate in things like Red Friday. On your social media, you could recognize service birthdays, the Air Force birthday, Army birthday, Marine Corps birthday. I know Marines are really tied into Veterans Day. They get very excited about their birthday. They start celebrating it about a month in advance. But those are just little ways you can honor the veterans you have employed for you that are really fun, and they can create camaraderie. And then you can also do the external activities, Rees Across America. That's happening this year on December 16th. So maybe even if you just start with one load this year, you're getting involved with a great organization that can be your signature event of the year, and then participating in other events like the Transition Trucking Award with FASTPORT, Hiring Our Heroes job fairs. Get out. They are the best job fairs. I use them as a transitioning service member. I've used them as an employer. I've always been a big fan of them. And then also supporting ESGR, which is your employment support for Guard and Reserve. Those are external activities and organizations that can really enhance what you're doing as a veteran program.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Nikki. Very, very insightful. Now let's hear from the training side of the house about the CDL school and Troops into Transportation. Andrea Hanley.
All right. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Jean. I really want to express how much we value the partnership with employers like yours, Nikki, and the excellent jobs that you're offering to our graduates. So again, I'm Andrea Hanley. I'm the Senior Vice President of TransForce's Education and Training Division. And on behalf of our company, our CDL schools, and our military program, Troops into Transportation, today I'd like to share how employers like you can add these simple tactics I'm about to share that will resonate with the military community. So to sum up why we're here today, let's go to the next slide. I would like to share this quote by Eric Eversole, President at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Hiring Our Heroes. The value of the veteran workforce to the American economy cannot be understated. So simply put, and on the next slide, in understanding this community, it's really important to know, first off, more than half of veterans struggle in how to translate their military experience to a civilian employer. In fact, the greatest challenge that they're going to face is how to translate their skills. So in this deck, I'm going to list 7 steps to help you attract this kind of talent to your workforce. And starting off with how to speak their language, right? So as I say, first responders, that first point of contact that's going to get the application provided by that service member should have the knowledge in how to speak or understand some of the terms they might be using or listing on their resume or application. Also, make sure you're inclusive with your language and you're clear about what you're seeking from candidates. And there's a lot of resources to help you with this. So let's take a look at an example. This is what I found interesting. In my experience, I've been in the transportation industry, what feels like a lifetime, but only about 20 years, really. And I've seen this really with any applicants. When you have a statement, it's so clear to employers like us or to driving schools to say, hey, you need a clear license. You need a clean license in order to be considered for this role. Well, believe it or not, that can be interpreted so many different ways, where if I once had a seatbelt ticket or a parking ticket, maybe a non-moving violation, I might automatically take myself out of consideration because my license isn't clean. We only may want to look at the last 5 years, and we may only want to look at things like accidents or moving violations. So be aware that a statement could be potentially misleading, especially to the military community, which might take that statement literal and more literal than we intend. Also with physical demands, many of our students and certified instructors may have a disability rating because they can no longer do the physical demands of jumping out of an airplane or what an 11 Bravo might do. Well, they can still drive a truck. They can still pass a DOT physical. So when we say statements like must meet physical demands, that could deter someone who otherwise might qualify. So ways to clean it up is just keep the door open. I like to say, never back yourself into a corner. Of course, we want to disclose and be upfront. We want to attract those that are highly probable to qualify, but statements like military highly encouraged to apply, or list the % of military affiliation you have in your company, as well as other incentives that might kind of soften the recruiting barriers that they might perceive. Okay, let's go to the next slide here. And let's just talk about keeping it simple. Make it easy for them to get through the screening process. List out the steps, the timelines. Military likes clarity. They like predictability. Frankly, who doesn't? They are accustomed to this. So letting them know, here are the things you need to do before this action happens. These are the next steps that will happen following that. And keeping it very simple. Shorten the application process, get them to the people that are able to review, qualify, speak to them based on how you work your hiring process. And also let them know this might be the role you're applying for today, but get your foot in the door and also understand we'll have many other types of opportunities. Military are accustomed to this. They're accustomed to a career path where every 2 to 3 years, they have an opportunity to promote, to perhaps relocate and advance. So removing the guesswork. Excellent. Give them opportunities to better see, opportunities that will resonate more by branding or illustrate. So Nikki gave a couple of examples earlier about decals or logos, something that they can easily identify by saying, hey, not only are you military friendly, but you're military ready. And this can help them imagine themselves as being part of your team. Also, do you have a dedicated section for where military can look up frequently asked questions, perhaps? And some of the slides we looked at earlier with Hirschbach Can you see who is a driver today and what they look like when they were serving in the military in uniform before? Just simple images like that really help them understand how they might be able to fit in. Okay, let's take a look at the fourth step here. And we're going to talk about, it's not just about the bottom line, it's not just about the pay and the compensation, but really outline all of the benefits or advantages that you can offer. So we've talked a little bit about apprenticeship. You're going to hear more on that in just a bit. If for some reason you will consider candidates that may not have all the credentials you're seeking, if there's a way you'll help bridge some of that, whether it's reskilling, training, or financial coverage, you should list that. And also, like I mentioned, not just in addition to what kind of wages you're providing, but what are the working hours, or what are other benefits like retirement or flexible time off? How about working dogs if you have, service animals, or even just pets that you'll be able to welcome into the cabs of the trucks? Those are all really nice things that you can, lay out and incentivize for them. Okay, fifth step, next slide is going to go on to paving the path and just, establish things that will help them get to where their goal is. Establishing a military mentorship program. Identifying a group of drivers or employees that you already have on your team with a simple badge or sticker. In fact, I had a graduate share this story with me by saying, I put a decal of my affiliation on the side of my truck. My company let me do it. And soon, don't you know, drivers that I never talked to when I was hanging out at the terminal in between runs, or just the general public that would come up to him when he was at his stops, making deliveries, that would thank him for his service. Things like that really increased both camaraderie, made him felt more valued, not just by his team members in the company, but also by the general public. In fact, he then took it a next step and was able to create his own social media group. Some of us use platforms like LinkedIn. There's many groups there that have individuals identifying as part of the military community that can just talk and connect. So again, these are small things that can help boost morale as well as loyalty to your company. Okay, step number 6 is be present. You got to show up. Nikki talked about some of the events that they've been part of, and many of us here today have been part of, but there's value to being at the right place at the right time. So align yourselves with organizations that are welcomed by the military to civilian transition offices, that are welcomed by hiring our heroes, or various branches of the military. And you scan that barcode that you see, the QR code that you see up here on the screen. Those are other ways that you can connect and come together with other employers that are kind of going through similar challenges you may be experiencing and that want to help. Because frankly, if there's a military service member that might not fit in well for trucking, but might be pursuing something in diesel technology or another branch, I want to help them and set them up for success, because that person is likely to be grateful for that and then share this opportunity with someone they know that might be a better fit for trucking. All right. And then finally, the 7th step is connect with the right organizations. It doesn't cost anything to connect with these great folks that you see here and follow us. Follow the U.S. Chamber. Follow Hiring Our Heroes on the various platforms. Connect with Adam Rock. Connect with Gene Nelson of TransForce, Troops into Transportation, FASTPORT, and so forth. We truly want to be able to help as many people as we can. That's what it's all about. And that's how we'll thrive best. Okay, so let me sum it up on the next slide here, and then I'll take a pause and pass it off to the next topic. But You want to be able to give them predictability in your hiring process, what you can offer, and be clear about what you're offering. What's the current opportunity? What is the path for them to advance? And then finally, just be there. Retention is a big thing, right? It's not just about getting them to you, getting them through the door, but keeping them. That loyalty, that support, recognition, nurturing them will go a long way. All right, so as we move into the next topic, the next screen will give you another chance to scan that guide on our hiring tactics and how to create a veteran-focused hiring strategy. And I'm actually going to also direct you all to the chat. And now I'm going to switch gears. Actually, you get to hear me talk to you about something slightly different, and that's about the military's leading CDL employment and training program, Troops into Transportation. So how do you find and hire veterans from us, from TransForce, from the CDL school, right? So just to lay out a couple of facts, this program was founded in 2012, and in just over 10 years, we've helped over 10,000 service members not only get their CDL, but find positions within transportation. And that has been incredible to think. In fact, the teams that we have behind the scenes, admissions, recruiting, class managers, our certified instructors, and so on, more than half of our staff has an affiliation with the military, whether it be spouses, guards, reservists, active duty, retired. And many of them actually went through our program and have worked in the transportation industry, which is pretty cool. And now they're giving back through Troops into Transportation. Also, we are a national skill bridge program, which means we can help anyone that is in their transition, regardless of what branch and regardless of where they are right now. Here in the US, serving overseas, we are able to help them when their window of opportunity is right, so that when they leave the military, not only do they have a CDL credential in their hand, but they have a job waiting for them, hopefully with many of you. Okay, next slide. I'd like you guys to just kind of understand this program only works with our partnerships, meaning our mission is to place a meaningful number of service members each year into positions within the ground transportation industry. So that's you. We need those positions. We need to know where those jobs are so that we can be that main pipeline for those service members and veterans and spouses to get into the industry. And we do that by way of helping them get their CDL, but also being there for you. You might not be able to have the reach that we have or that some of the larger employers have. So we want to be your trusted source for carriers of all sizes to hire military talent. So let's take a look at what the presence looks like. On this map, the next slide, you're going to see that we cover the entire country on any given day, any time zone, and we're not limited here. Many of these campuses that you see between New York, North Carolina, Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado, Washington, Alaska, just to name a few, can handle transitioning service members of any state, regardless of what license and what state that they're in. So this is incredible. Several thousand members of the military community will now go through our program, Troops into Transportation, each year. Okay, next slide here. Let's take a look at the value that we can provide to not just our students, the military, but also to you as partner employers. So we're a job first program, which means if someone was to come to us interested in this opportunity, we can let them know within 2 days or less where they stand. Talk about predictability. We help them first secure employment. We let them know that they meet your minimum hiring requirements, they meet our admissions requirements, and that they have the opportunity to start within the next several class start dates based on their timeline and when they're ready to go to work with you. Once we know they're accepted, only then do we schedule them to take their training, to conduct their CDL testing, add on their endorsements, and again, be ready to start their job with you. The part about what makes us really unique is free agency. And this is why free agency is a good thing. First, let me say is exclusivity is never good, right? Offering to some, but not all, or to few, but not as many, not always a good thing. So we don't have any employment contracts or lock-ins with any trucking companies. Simply put, it's a reverse Shark Tank. You, the employers, should highlight what advantages you have, why someone would want to consider working with you. And I'll tell you why this is great, because once they've vetted all the opportunities and come to an informed decision on why company B versus company D, the loyalty and the retention that you'll see, invaluable, right? Veterans are going to enjoy having multiple job offers so they can compare and select, and that they can make the best decision, ultimately staying with you and staying longer. Okay, so let's talk about what you should know about how to tap into this talent. Next slide here. And as we transition, I should let you know, our program is so successful with our graduates. You don't have to take my word for it, but on our social media, you can see the smiles on their faces, the different trucks they're standing in front of, the different job opportunities companies like you have provided to them. They love it. And in fact, more than half of our student population for the military is made up of referrals. So they're very happy with what we've been able to deliver. And then the opportunities you on that back end are able to provide, they're going to tell their friends about it. So come to us when it comes to how to acquire CDL talent, regardless of the type of positions and roles that you have. We can help you find the best fit. And also, each week, we have nearly 50 military affiliated graduates coming out of our programs in any part of the country. And also make your mark, and you'll see each week we're featuring graduates with all different types of companies. In fact, companies that, they're not even a driver for, they just have to have their CDL to do the actual job on site for, right? So it's a great opportunity. Okay, well, I've certainly done enough talking. Let me now pass it over to one of our longtime partners and someone that I consider to be a great business friend, whose role and organization they're with today is Executive Director of FASTPORT, Dave Harrison.
Well, thank you, Andrea. Andrea and I were talking just before this, and we partnered. Actually, it's longer than 7 years, Andrea, because I've been in this position for the 7th year here. So we partnered several years ago when I was at JB Hunt and developed and directed the Hunt's Heroes program to build a bridge for military transitioning into truck driving positions. And Andrew and I were both talking about there are people who went through that program 8+ years ago that are still driving right now and working for companies that we help marry them up to and other things. And that's a pretty, it is gratifying to see that, because when we get to do what we do, which is engage in this great sea of goodwill. But now the difference from what was happening in 2013 and 14 is you got integration of great organizations. You got a Hirschbach that's leading the way and leverages all the resources possible. You've got the troops transport, which now is just created a vehicle for transition that never existed in space. And you integrate that with the advantages of like registered apprenticeship program and GI Bill benefits that go to transitioning service members, and it becomes one of those things where we now have this holistic approach with this partnership where we leverage between HOH and FASTPORT and everyone else that really, really facilitates a process that never existed before. That we, back in the old days, we were figuring this out as we went. We'll talk a little bit about registered apprenticeships transportation, because that's primarily what I do as a DOL contractor in the transportation sector. And I'm going to turn it back to veterans, because it goes hand in hand. Look, I'm not going to read all this to you, but if someone is looking at either expanding registered apprenticeship, make it more effective, build a registered apprenticeship, start a registered apprenticeship. If you're training someone right now, you have an apprenticeship, you just hadn't formalized it, and you're not getting any benefits for it, and your veteran's not getting benefits like a monthly housing allowance that they have earned, that they can get by participating in your program. We are a one-stop shop on all those things, plus workforce development. It literally, our role is paid for by the federal government, so it doesn't cost you anything to get our technical assistance and to help you solve your workforce dilemmas, especially in the transportation space. And it's not just truck drivers. We do a lot of things. This is real simple. We as an intermediary, we accelerate your program, and we follow a maxim: keep it simple. If it's not simple, if it's not scalable, not sustainable, my team is to stop, and then we figure out how to make it that way. And if we can't, we usually don't get involved with it. And that right there is the secret sauce to this, because the more difficult it is for an employer, then the less you're getting participation. Less participation, less opportunity of fixing universal issues we have in truck driver shortage of supply chain. We saw the fragility of it, and the fragility is really based off personnel. Next slide, please. A little bit about us. We put over 23,000 people into transportation. Most of those, about 22,000 of those are drivers. We currently are sitting over 8,000 active drivers out of a 2-year competency-based apprenticeship apparatus. We've onboarded about 9,800 in that window, so that's a high percentage for trucking, and we're pretty proud of that. 55% are minorities. We found out a long time ago that if you open your aperture and you engage United States military, that is the most diverse organization in the world. It was kind of our strategy, and we engage across all platforms that possible, engaging transition service members. And that by itself, over a 7-year period of time, has led to a massive expansion volume-wise, that you have over nearly 12,000 people that are minorities, and a lot of those have connections to the veteran populations that went and inundated into all our employer partners. We have 29 occupations we're operating in. We're functionally working on about 15 more we'll put in place. We are working with 175 industry organizations, employer partners at the moment. It'll be 180 by Tuesday next week. But if it pretty much, if it crosses all sections within this industry, we're doing something with it. Next slide, please. Technical assistance. I'm not going to read all this to you, but essentially, we're really going to take about 98% of an administrative burden for an employer or employer sponsor, the combination thereof, that you would experience if you were operating on your own. That's huge. Having had to do that in the private sector and put people on it, that's one of the first things I did when I was asked to take this role. Is we developed a system to make it very simple, an engagement platform, very simple and very precise engagement platform with employers that keeps everyone in compliance without being a heavy lift. Next slide, please. Candidates sourcing. That's the other thing, is all our employer partners, through a myriad of different connections in our transition support teams, career fairs. We have diversity inclusion outreach that we do simultaneously as part of our contract. We do awareness campaigns and we partner with MOAA and with Hire Heroes USA and those folks, and they do email campaigns and blast force as well. The other thing is that we have a direct linkage to the Department of Labor through apprenticeship.gov site, where we're receiving candidate platforms as well. And we were one of the first ones selected from the general populace, or actually the first one for the ENPP program. So we candidate sourcing goes to us. 1 week it might be 70, 80, 100 people. The next week it's 3,000, and it fluctuates all through there. But those candidates we source out to all our apprenticeship partners. There's no charge for that. We're not sorting them for you. We're not qualifying them. I don't have staff to do that. That's your job anyway. I just get them out in front of you as fast as humanly possible. Next slide, please. Contact information. That's my contact information, and also someone else's here. I do want to talk about MHA just for a minute, monthly housing allowance, and talk about a couple things that have been said already. You know, FASTPORT does a lot more than just apprenticeship in this space. One of the things we specialize in is the GI Bill apparatus that attaches itself and goes hand in hand with the apprenticeship, but it's separate because it has to be filed through state approving authorities and the VA separately. We have on our team, I will contend with anyone, the foremost expert on getting MHA approved and managed, Miss Jamie Pace, and she has done this for countless years and multiple times post Valor Act, and knows as much about how to execute that as anyone there is. And we'll help anybody who's trying to help veterans. If you're setting up or you're already got an apprenticeship, but you're having problems, you're getting your GI Bill MHA done, just let me know, and we will do what we can to help us at any given moment as quickly as possible. The other thing about integration here, you know, Hirschbach talked about this, and we also heard about this throughout this presentation. If you don't get the sense of partnership from HOA to Hirschbach and Troops Transport, and the fact that all that we do is affiliate within itself, supporting pieces of the puzzle. The important part is that you have that this gives an integration from pre-hire, CDL, transition military, post-hire, 2-year competency-based apprenticeship programs that align with the Department of Labor standards, aligns with the Department of Transportation, both the ELDT and their driver standards, exceeds the DOD IMAP, and is aligned with the ATA's adoption of standards, the TCAs, the Trucking Alliance, Next Generation of Trucking, Minority Professional Truckers Association. I can go on and on and on. Every major institution and organization that is in this space, to include the other training organization, have all adopted this same language. So it gives you a clear and concise, both industry vetted and federally approved standards for a professional safe truck driver workforce, or diesel mechanics, or et cetera, et cetera. So if you're looking to do that, you're looking for a blueprint to do that, and you're looking at a way to do that and get and qualify for tax credits and to be on eligible training for providers, platforms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to qualify for WIOA dollars, that's the path. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if it's to help veterans or an apprenticeship. Either way, apprenticeship's not just for veterans, but veterans are usually the cornerstone to most of the rest of our apprenticeship programs that we've worked on and we will work on in the future. And the last thing I'd like to say is in December, on the 13th and 14th, we will be in Washington, D.C. at the ATA headquarters hosting our Veterans Summit. We also will be following up the very next day. We'll be at the Chamber for the Transition Trucking Award, and then we will go over to the Women's Memorial at Arlington National Cemetery and have a signing of the Employer Supporter Guard and Reserve, and we bring 30, 40, 50 employers into there, and those who are attending can attend the Wreaths Gala Friday night for Wreaths Across America, which is an amazing event. If you've never been, you should go. It's a life-changing thing. And then the very next morning, we're out at Arlington at Wreaths Across America and laying wreaths. Anyone's interested in becoming a truly vet-ready company or getting better at it, that we're even going to have some an 8-hour SHRM certification for a veteran recruiter that's going to be available during this the Vet Summit. I'm going to share some information. You can reach out to me. as far as if you want more information, but I just posted in the chat some information on that. With that, I'm going to ask Adam to come in and talk about other resources for veterans and transitioning folks and into workforce development type programs. Hey, Adam, thanks. Good to see you again.
You too, Dave. Thanks a lot, everyone, buddy. So I'll just chime in for just a second, and then we'll turn it over to Andrea here. But it takes a village is the theme that everyone's been talking about today, and we're just one component of that village at Hiring Our Heroes. We're very proud of the work we do, but we don't do it alone. We do it with great partners like FASTPORT, who've been at this with us since the very beginning, and TransForce and Troops into Transportation, who's been at this with us for a long time, and obviously Hirschbach is one of those great partners as well. So we're grateful to that. We've done a lot of work in the transportation and trucking industry over the years, and we've had partnered over 100 companies so far. We have them involved in our summits that we do in person globally that you could participate in. These are our career summits on our military installations. We have virtual hiring fairs. We're specific to the transportation logistics sectors sometimes often, and you could participate in that as well. We have a fellowship program, a very robust fellowship program if you're interested, whether that be the service members that are on active duty transitioning out under the Skill Bridge Authority or the military spouses. Again, that population, military spouses and caregivers is crucial. They have skills that are just unprecedented, and that's a great resource for you to tap into. I would be remiss if I didn't say that all the great work we've been doing. We had a Drive for 500 campaign, which was to give 500 scholarships to deserving service members, military spouses, and put them directly in companies that are here today and many other companies out there. But that program was about reducing the barriers. So how do we reduce the barriers to a successful career in organizations just like you? Indeed provided the dollar figure, the money, the funding to support the scholarships, right? Hiring Our Heroes provided access to the military talent globally. And then TransForce and Troops into Transportation particularly provided the CDL training. And it worked. We put 500 people through the CDL school, and we got 500 people meaningful careers with great companies. And we're going to do a 2.0, if you will, Drive for 500 #2, come on up here shortly. So there are multiple ways that you can get involved, not just with Hiring Our Heroes, but the entire ecosystem. So we look forward. You can do that at hiringourheroes.org, and I'll put that in the chat box as well, hiringourheroes.org. Dave, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea right now to moderate the Q&A, and then I'll come back and close this out. So Andrea, over to you, please.
Thank you, Adam. That's incredible to think about, that Drive for 500. And the first thing that I thought of was companies that said, I want to hire these individuals, but they don't have the CDL. Where can they get their training? And because of that connection, we were able to serve them for that need, right? We said, okay, carrier D, B, C, we can help you. You already know you want to hire them, but this person lacked the financial support or lacked the resources to get that license in CDL. We put them through that program, less than 30 days, everything they needed to be able to show up to that job. So that was incredible. And that's how we all work together. So with that, I know we do have some questions that are loading up in our Q&A. So I'm going to give a moment, and those of you that have been listening all along, if you haven't yet populated it in, put it in the Q&A section. And as I open that up, I will go ahead and read them and throw them out to the rest of the team here. Let me go through the first one. First one might be for FASTPORT here. You can take a stab at it, Dave. Is what does it cost to become an apprenticeship? How do you start an apprenticeship? You might have touched on that, but if you can just clarify any costs.
Well, first off, the only cost you're incurring, it works like this. If you're already training people, then you have an apprenticeship already. So therefore, you're not looking at any real up costs, because the way we do this is a very low administrative footprint. So you don't have to have somebody full time to manage this. It's one of those things that can be integrated multiple different ways, and we've got strategies on that. We've done it from Fortune 100s down to mom and pop, so we can help you do that, or at least give you ideas on that. But it really, the answer to that question is, it costs you no more than what you are spending to train, or what you're willing to spend to train, because you figured out you have to, because we ran out of drivers to steal from each other. You better start growing your own. So hey, you're not looking at any cost differential. Now, I will say this. In the state of Massachusetts, if you do a state program only, there is like $150 charge or something like that. We don't do that. Do national program standards. It's nothing. Our services are free, and the started is literally just a little bit of time.
Great. Thank you. All right, Adam, perhaps you can answer this question. Is the Veteran Ready Summit virtual or in person? And if it's in person, where is it hosted?
Yeah, Dave, you touched on a little bit. It is in person. We did it last year, so this will be the second one we've done it at the American Trucking Association headquarters here in the Arlington area, Washington, D.C. area right there. Dave, I believe it is also virtual as well, but I'll ask you to clarify that, please.
Right now, it's not a virtual component, but they're working on that right now. So we're also working on a virtual component separately for the veteran certification for SHRM.
Great. Thank you. All right, Gene, we might want to tag team on this, Gene. This is the power of the TransForce. Do you have your own CDL schools, or do you partner with CDL schools across the country?
Yes to both. We do have our own CDL schools, and we also do partner with vetted other CDL schools across the country. We have, I know Andrea mentioned the location map that we had there earlier in the presentation, but as you can see in that location map, we're not all over the country, so that's why we have partnered with other CDL schools. But our troops in the transportation schools are the ones that we own ourselves.
Great. Yeah, and I mean, the network that we have in TransForce, over 10,000 drivers are dispatched on the daily, and the graduate pool that we have coming out, not just military, but those that are non-military affiliated, about 100 every week. So there's a lot of different opportunities out there with us, and then the partners that Gene mentioned. Let me see if I can go into our Q&A box over here, and I'm working hard on this, team. So will the recording of this webinar be available later? Yes, that will be posted. Adam, it's going to be up on the HOH site?
It sure will. It'll be up on the HOH site. It'll be in our career community. I think it's hiringourheroes.org/resources is the website that you can locate it at specifically. But yes, we'll have it on there. By the way, there's a lot of other great resources out there too for these veteran ready companies, or companies to be veteran ready, on that same community site.
Excellent. Okay, I think we're good for a few more questions. This one I am happy to take lead on, but how are the ways that we can hire your graduates? Is your training and program exclusive for military only? So let's just pause on that. There's a few different ways. I mentioned, I said it in a funny way, but if you have an opportunity that you think might benefit all of our students, so think of the 100 students, some are military affiliated, some are not. They're located all over. First thing I'm going to say is find a way to give conditional job offers, right? Note that there are companies out there willing to say, you meet our minimum hiring requirements, we will what's called a pre-hire on the condition you graduate and you get your CDL. Also, you can partner with us directly, but also you can work with our Employment Solutions division if you think you have something really specific in a market that might be better served with our exclusive job matching for you. That way we get you the candidates matched perfectly for what you're looking for right away. Also, we have a job platform called TransForce One, TF1, where you can post your jobs not just to our graduates, experienced graduates, but candidates from partner trucking schools, the entire network that I mentioned. So really, I'm just going to say, talk to Jean, connect with Jean or myself, but those are the ways you can hire the graduates. The program is Troops into Transportation is exclusive for military. However, the CDL schools will train and serve all. So, if Nikki's company, Hirschbach, is looking to fill driver seats, they want the best candidates in there, whether it's military or non-military affiliated. We can help you with your driver needs. And I think there's one more question that addresses one earlier is, what about hiring veterans for other jobs that don't require a truck? First thing I'm going to say is the expectation that these graduates have are for what driving positions are going to be able to offer them. And we set that expectation around $65,000 a year or more. So just know that's what they're looking for. If you have an opportunity where having a CDL is helpful but not required, of course, I'm sure someone will consider it if it meets their needs and all things they're looking for. All right, one more question. I'm probably going to kick this over to you, Jean. Is there a cost for posting CDL jobs on the TF1 platform? If so, what is the cost?
Yeah, that's a great question. There is not a cost to post a job on our TF1 job board. It's just based off of leads that you get. So you can post one job or you can post 1,000 jobs. That doesn't cost you anything. It's just a lead generation that intelligently matches CDL drivers and screens out CDL drivers. They actually have to upload their CDL license in order to apply to a job. So if they don't have that corresponding license you are looking for, they can't even apply. So it's just a lead-based program. It doesn't cost you anything to post jobs.
Great. Okay. And then there were a couple questions in here, and I know we're a little sensitive on time here, but when it comes to other occupations, please connect with Dave at FASTPORT. They specialize in several industries. Transportation is just one of them. So that would be a great resource for you. And I believe we've got some questions about salary expectations. I think those of you that are asking, I'd love to learn more about opportunities that you have. Clearly, when students are considering transportation and those roles, simple job searches will show what a truck driver should estimate to earn in their first year. So 65,000 is that general expectation. As we know, many are much higher, and that could potentially put them in the six-figure range, depending on the type of job. So we always encourage them to find that information as well. As far as any other questions, I think I will wrap this up. Adam, anything else I should do?
Nope.
I think I usually lean on you.
You did great. You did superb. I'm actually, I'm going to add to one. I'm going to use moderator prerogative for a second. I'm going to say, from a resource perspective, whoever asked about additional occupations and whatnot, Hiring Our Heroes doesn't just do the transportation trucking industry. We do every industry. So whether you're a trucking company out there that's hiring for something like an IT individual or program manager, the list of occupations go on. Please, we have an extensive database of over 300,000 plus active profiles in there. And we have tremendous spouse network with active profiles as well. So please reach out to us here at hiringourheroes.org and or at my email that you've got there, arock@uschamber.com, and let us help facilitate some of those additional connections for you. Now I'm going to use moderator prerogative. I'm going to ask Nikki one final question, okay? Because she's been quiet for a little bit. Nikki, you have a veteran-ready company. You have a lot of knowledge in this, and I appreciate you sharing it with everybody. But Nikki, if you had one or two more pieces of advice that you didn't get to say earlier to the audience, what would you leave them with, please?
I think what I've learned along the way, I always joke around with people, when I got out of the Air Force and I went into Swift Transportation, I never imagined myself in the transportation industry. So I always joke that Swift was my first big girl job, because when we're in the military, we're very contained. You're told when to work out, when to go to the dentist, when do you go to work, all the things. So it's like living with your mom and dad with a much better allowance, I feel like. And then suddenly you're a civilian and now you got to figure it out all on your own. So I'm very thankful to my time at Swift, also just for the aspect that I got to learn a lot about the civilian sector. And some of the things I learned is just when it comes to partnerships, at the end of the day, as the carrier, we have a responsibility to our stakeholders. If you're a publicly traded company, for example, or maybe you're not publicly traded, but you still have a responsibility either to our drivers, to our employees. We have a responsibility to our customers when we're delivering those loads. So we do have to consider the ROI. So when I'm watching these question chats about that's what you're telling them is over the road, that's what you're telling them salary is, I get where they're coming from in the chat and the questions about the salary concerns for what they're offering these drivers. So as the carriers, we really have to consider those things and we have to manage expectations. And it's important to treat these partnerships just like you treat someone that you're hiring for a job. You want to ask them about their track record of success. So when you're saying how much does it cost per lead or how much does it cost to partner with you, ask them those important questions and then decide for yourself what that looks like for you. Because I learned in personal experience, we had a partnership that didn't deliver the results that we were hoping for. And we have to have an ROI at the end of the day. That's us on the business end of things. It's wonderful to say that you want to be veteran ready. It's wonderful to say that you want to hire all these veterans, but you have to really look at what is an expectation for you that's attainable. And so working with sound industry partners, FASTPORT, Troops to Transport, Hiring Our Heroes. I'm a big proponent of them because over the years, I've learned they have been the best partners where we've still seen some sort of ROI on our end of the business end of it, because you want to be veteran ready, and that's a wonderful slogan. But at the end of the day, we still have to look at where our dollars and cents are spending. You might manage your own personal budget for groceries. Now you put it on the bigger end, your professional side, you still have to manage a budget. Where is that going? Because as carriers, we have so many other things where our budgets are going toward. We're looking at, unfortunately, we have accidents, we have cost claims we have to do, we have fuel things we have to consider, we have pensions and everything we have to have for our employees. You have to really evaluate where your money is going. So when you're partnering with organizations like FASTPORT, who can really do a lot for you, Hiring Our Heroes, who can get you into those military installations across the nation, Troops into Transport, which is really going to dial in specific to your CDL needs, it's important to really look at those opportunities. So I think understanding how to ask the tough questions of people you might partner with, and then having realistic expectations is really, really important. So that is something I don't think that we look at enough on the employment side, is because we get a little excited, like, oh, we're going to work with this veteran organization, but you really want to make sure you're working with the right one.
Wow, Nikki, thank you very much. I'm glad we have that recorded, to be honest with you, because that is worth listening to again. I appreciate it. That's why I knew the Air Force hired some talent when they hired you, okay? So let me end here and just say a couple final thoughts, and then we'll close it out. But first of all, I want to thank all the panelists. I mean, first of all, I've worked alongside each and every one of you guys for a very long time, and I am inspired by your dedication and support of our veteran and military community, right? So it's just not about the veteran. Veteran ready means veterans, transitioning service member, military spouse, and those caregivers, and I know you get it. So there was a wealth of knowledge today, and I'm just grateful to you. The second thing, for all those attending or listening out there, we will transition out of our military nearly 200,000 men and women who raise their right hand to serve every year for the foreseeable future. Whether we're downsizing or not, our Army, our military is always on rotation. So that is a lot of folks out there looking for opportunities. I'm biased towards the transportation trucking industry because of great friends like yourself, but those are great careers with meaningful jobs. We wouldn't be partnering with you all if you didn't have the pay and benefits that were commensurate to what we had in the military. And I applaud you for all the hard work that you're doing, each and every one of you, put our men and women who serve to work. They're dedicated, they're loyal, they're critical thinkers, they're problem solvers, and they'll deliver the goods on time. That's for sure. So next thing is connecting with us. All right. Each and every one of us probably put our contact information in the chat box. If not, and it'll pop up here soon, but reach out to us. We're on LinkedIn. That is a great way to get started. Connect with us on LinkedIn and we'll help you. Third thing is, I want to thank you all though. All right. And if you want additional information, the recording, please go to our website at hiringourheroes.org and connect with us. Get involved with each and every one of us. Get involved in the summits, the virtual hiring fairs. Each of them are part of that, and just get involved. You're hiring a service member and a military spouse, not because you feel pity on, because it's darn good business. It's the right thing to do, right? They'll make your jobs, they'll make your company that much better. So again, I'm going to end it here and tell you all, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day, and let's go to work.